So I recently acquired this Janus diesel shunter. It's a double O scale, which will run on an HO scale. I've already jumped ahead and began taking this apart. I'm going to be putting a decoder in, and I've already taken this cab off of this center area. It has a couple of prongs on the inside. See those two back in there? They just kind of click in. Okay, that's how I pulled that out. This is the floor of the interior cab right here, and this part goes in this way, pops in there and snaps in. But I've been kind of taking it apart and taking it a look at the inside here. These are all the windows and controls inside of the cab, upside down, of course. This is under the hood, 5-pole motor, all-wheel contacts, and I've taken in these yellow areas here, let's see, right here. This here were the bumpers, because this is, of course, an overseas train. So I took off these bumpers, and maybe, and I think we're gonna try to put in some ditch lights here in replacement and americanize this guy as best as we possibly can. Probably hit this guy with a beacon at the top. And I'll include some photos so you can see what this looked like before I took it apart. This part of the shell is metal and plastic. This lower part is a metal, so I have to figure out how to drill through this section to run some wires for LEDs for the ditch lights. But I think that'll be the biggest challenge. The way to pull this off of here, this goes back on pretty easily here, okay? There's a few things in the way. I think it goes this way, so goes back on like this. There's a few little things that are little plastic things that are in the way, but here you get the point. But underneath, when you flip it, there's 4 screws. There's one there. You can see the holes. You come down here, there's another one there and another one there, where you would just remove those 4 screws, and this pulls up, and these are those 4 screws back over in here. You can see my little screws, and the little bumpers have been removed. Now this does have an 8-pin, but I don't think I'm going to go that route. I think I'm going to replace this little PCB board here with a piece of styrene, and we're going to lay our decoder right on there, connect our motor leads and our track leads that are down in there, and that is the plan so far. So here now I've gone ahead and replaced our little circuit board with a little piece of styrene. Use the same screws for the placement of our decoder we're going to place here. Trimmed back all the wires, and with the decoder we will join our track power wires back here, red and black. I'm sorry, motor wires here, and our track wires here. So just preparing it. Looks a little bit roughed up now, but in these areas here and over here, we're going to be running wires. We pulled out the bumper posts, drilled through the hole, and we're going to put in some LEDs in here. Now this is metal, so I'm going to be using putty to fill in the gaps so that the metal end portions of each LED are not touching any metal. And then the wire will come in through the back side here where you see some of the paint has been taken off. We're going to fix that paint up in the end, but the wire's going to come through. Let me go like this, you guys. The wire's going to come through here and then come up and out through the ladder and underneath, and then it's going to run up through the shell and to the decoder. Now the other thing I have to do is a coupler swap. So these had the European type hook, but I'm putting in some Katie's. And from what I can see, the only way I can do this is by taking the underside here. I pulled out the couplers, and I may have to glue them in here. I have to figure out a way to really, I do not have a way of threading some screws in here, but that would be the best way to do it. Okay, so I went ahead and got the decoder in, and we've got our track leads and our motor leads. You got the orange connected here. You can see it's all shrink tubed up, and the black is going to the gray. Okay, it looks white on the video. And then we have our track leads. There's a black one which goes to the black from the decoder. It's real tight in here the way I've set this up, but it runs down. You can see it here coming up, and then it connects to the black. This is the black wire of the decoder, and if we turn it around, you can see where the red comes up, and back in here, it's meeting with the red of the decoder right there, okay? Those are the 4 connections we have, and they're very successful. Let me throw it on my new HO layout up above, and I'll show you how it's running. So we're going to add some sound next, but for now we're going to just show you how the motor's running here. That's it. That's on 4 on my NCE. Does pretty good at the slow speed. And here it comes back. This is a 5-pole motor. And I just love the three wheels turning and a churning there. Okay, so that didn't take long. Our speaker's all hooked up. It's right here in the back, tucked under. We're using the full muffle box. Right underneath. It fits in really nice and snug. I'm probably gonna have to tape it a little bit, but there's our brown wire connections. We've got one here. It's hard to tell, but one here, and the other one's right there. Okay, and they're right in the back there. So I was just gonna test this. Let's see what we got. All right, well, there's our sound. So we got all the wiring done. Shell's back on, everything's enclosed very nicely. Ditch lights, those came out really nice looking on the outside. There they are. Okay. And I'm going to be using the front and rear ditch lights to change direction of the locomotive because it doesn't have any headlights. So we have the beacon and it's operating. I'm thinking about some other details here, but I think next I'm going to go in and do a little bit of painting. All right, touched up a few things. Okay, got little white handrails here. I touched up some of the red that was coming off and getting scraped off. And we painted in the steps, the ladder areas dark, which I think from a distance hides everything that we scratched up and put holes in to get those front beams, ditch lights in. So that's where we're at with that. I touched up the beacon housing. And next is the couplers. Just got to get those running and we'll be there. That is a really, I gotta say, the character of these things is just really neat. I love it. Well, here we are. She's all complete. I really like the way this one turned out. Once again, just to point out what the work we did here, we replaced the bumpers with ditch lights, operating ditch lights, added a beacon to the top, took off some decals here to Americanize it a little more. I kept this logo. Yeah, I know that's probably, it's definitely a company that once ran overseas. Maybe it still does. I don't know. I'm not that particular. I go with what I think looks neat, and that's a cool little logo. It's very industrialized. I just removed some of the text under here and then added a number 2 for this guy. And once again, we put an engineer inside. And that's where we're at. It's pretty nice. It's running really well. One thing I want to point out that I will be changing is right now these couplers, I'm using our number 153 KD couplers in their center set. And they're those to scale ones, which I like the scale ones. But however, what's happening here with the center set is that they're fairly low. So I'm ordering some underset, and those will be number 144s, I believe, the short shank, just like these, except that coupler will raise up higher coming out of the slot. So that's this conclusion to this project. And once again, really neat looking locomotive. And let me start her up for you and run her a little bit. All right, let's pretend we're just getting in. That's a wrap for this session. And I do want to point out one more neat thing we did. Because this locomotive didn't come with headlights, I'm using the ditch lights for directional lighting, so I know which direction. If you look down at the ditch lights here, we just switch directions and come back the other way. I'm going to push these back into the yard, and we're going to say goodbye here, and I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. Later, and thank you once again.